Achieving success in your exams does not just depend on the effort you put in, but the direction of that effort. And that's crucial to getting those extra marks. And that's where Toppers Exam Special comes to your rescue. We'll tell you how you should not just study hard, but study smart too. Hi, I'm Arjun Bhagat, and today we're going to tackle the topic polymers and chemistry in everyday life. We'll trace exam and marking trends, we'll solve practice questions, and we'll give you some tips and tricks that'll keep you ahead of the others.
Polymers and chemistry in everyday life carries a total of 6 marks. 6 marks out of 70 means 8% of the paper. 8% is huge and can actually decide if you will get admission into that college you are aspiring for. Usually very short answer type questions of 1 mark or short answer type questions worth 2 to 3 marks come from this chapter.
When we began this show, I had promised you that in order to study smart, we'll solve some sample questions. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten that promise. We'll solve a model question in just a bit. But before that, why don't we quickly recap what you might have already learned in this chapter.
In this chapter, we learnt about addition polymers, condensation polymers. We also learnt about
copolymerization,
biodegradable polymers and
antacids,
tranquilizers and antibiotics.
You know the question and marking trends? You've also recapped the key concepts. Why don't we quickly run through which ability of yours the examiner will test you on as you answer questions from this unit.
Questions from this chapter usually test your knowledge, conceptual and representative ability. Representative ability is usually tested through questions based on the structures of different polymers.
I hope this recap has helped you recall the important concepts taught to you in this chapter. Why don't we now get started with answering practice questions? Let's first solve a model question that Topper has designed just for you. This question tests your representative ability as well as your knowledge ability, like most questions from this chapter will.
The question asks you to draw the structures of the polymers Teflon, PAN and Buna-S, along with one use of each. You are also required to draw the structure of their monomers. This question carries 3 marks. As already indicated, this question tests your representative ability, as it requires you to remember the structures of the monomers and polymers asked. In addition to that, the question also tests your knowledge since the use of each is also asked. Most questions are built around a similar pattern, so I recommend you be well versed with all types of polymers and their monomers. Let us now take a look at the answer to this question. The answer is Teflon is also called polytetrafluoroethylene, and the name of its monomer is tetrafluoroethylene. Take a look at its structure. I'm sure you already know that Teflon is used for making cooking wares. The non-stick pan that your mother uses to make omelets and pancakes might have a Teflon coating. Writing all this information will fetch you 1 mark. Let's move on to the second part of the question, which asks you to draw the structure of PAN and its monomer along with one use of PAN. Look at your television screens to see what structure of PAN and its monomer looks like. The question also asks you to state the uses of PAN. The answer is, PAN is used as a substitute of wool in making commercial fibers like Orlon. With this, you will get 1 more mark. Last part of the question asks you to draw the structure of Buna-S and its monomer along with one use of Buna-S. Here there are two monomers, unlike Teflon and PAN, which have only one monomer. The monomers of Buna-S are styrene and 1,3-butadiene. On your television screen is illustrated the structure of Buna-S. As for its use, Buna-S is used in making automobile tires. This will fetch you the final mark. You should always remember to write the N as indicated in the structure of each polymer. Without it, the structure would be incomplete. The double bond should be placed at the correct position.
The idea behind getting you to answer a model question was to prepare you to answer a question that would test your representative ability. Now, most questions from this chapter will do that. Let's now go on to answering some of our practice questions. This practice session will surely make you perfect.
Our first practice question has to be answered in 3 parts. First, what are antipyretic medicines? Second, name one antipyretic medicine. And lastly, can it play any other role too? This question is knowledge-based and our difficulty meter says it is of average difficulty. The question requires you to recall the topic antipyretic drugs. Each part of this question carries a mark. Make sure your answers are to the point so that nothing comes between you and those 3 marks. If your answer was that antipyretics are the medicines used to lower body temperature in case of fever, you are correct. Paracetamol is a prominent antipyretic. Antipyretics can also play the role of an analgesic, that is, they help relieve body pain. The most common error made by the students is that they mistake antipyretics for antibiotics, which is wrong.
I found this chapter very interesting in school as it talks about products we use in our daily lives without realizing what they do and how. Hope practicing these questions is fun for you too. So let's keep the practice questions rolling. Here comes another one.
The question is, how does vulcanization change the character of natural rubber? Also, what significance do the numbers 6 and 6,6 hold in nylon 6 and nylon 6,6? This question appeared in the sample papers for 2 marks. The question checks your conceptual ability and is of average difficulty. Here comes your answer. Recall that vulcanization is the heating of rubber with sulfur. Heating rubber with sulfur causes cross-linking of polymer chains through disulfide bonds. This makes the rubber hard and stiff and prevents the polymer from being torn when it is stretched, thus resulting in the change of physical character of rubber. This will fetch you 1 mark. Now for the second part, that is, what significance do numbers 6 and 6,6 in nylon 6 and nylon 6,6? Well, nylon 6 is obtained from the monomer caprolactam, which contains 6 carbon atoms. And nylon 6,6 is a condensation polymer of hexamethylene
diamine
and adipic acid. Since the 2 monomers have 6 carbon atoms each, it is called nylon 6,6. This will fetch you another mark. Attempting to answer questions like this in parts will not just ensure that they are to the point, but also that you do not miss anything out. You must remember the monomers of nylon 6 as well as nylon 6,6. Also, remember the number of carbon atoms present in these monomers.
That answer brings us halfway to the show. If you're out of breath answering the questions, take a quick breather. Coming up after the break, some more practice questions and our freshly baked hot questions served with some exam tips to make your exams a cakewalk. But wait, it isn't so easy to earn a break. Here's a question I want you to think about while taking a breather.
This question that will keep your brain ticking goes like this. Give one example of an artificial sweetener used by diabetic patients. This is an easy knowledge-based question worth 1 mark. Keep thinking and I'll see you on the other side of this break. Before the break, we had asked you a question. The question was, give one example of an artificial sweetener used by diabetic patients. Saccharin is a very common artificial sweetener used by diabetic patients. It is about 550 times as sweet as cane sugar.
Welcome back. I'm Arjun and you're watching Topper's Exam Special. For those of you who've just joined us, we're talking about polymers and chemistry in everyday life. Till now, we've traced exam and marking trends, solved a model question and some practice questions on structures of various polymers and their uses. Let's solve one more practice question.
This practice question requires you to write the mechanism of free radical polymerization of an alkene. Topper brands this question as a knowledgeability question. Be careful, as our difficulty meter says that it is a difficult question and carries 2 marks. It requires proper understanding of the reaction mechanism and the way it should be written. Answering this kind of question needs practice. But the good news is that if it is well rehearsed, it can get you full marks. Here is how we must answer it. A variety of alkenes and their derivatives are polymerized in the presence of a free radical generating initiator or a catalyst like benzoyl peroxide, acetyl peroxide, tertiary butyl peroxide, etc. Take, for example, the polymerization of ethene to polythene. Consists of heating or exposing to light a mixture of ethene with a small amount of benzoyl peroxide initiator. Take a look at the mechanism. Remember to draw the dot as shown in the structures since it represents a free radical.
This question tests your core understanding of the chapter. Now let's take a good question to check if you have studied the chapter thoroughly or not.
The next practice question asks you what detergents are. You're also required to give their scheme of classification and state why detergents are preferred over soap. Our difficulty meter rates this question as average and carries a total of 3 marks. This is a fairly simple question. Detergents are cleansing agents which have all properties of soaps, but which actually do not contain any soap. They are sodium salts of long-chain sulfonates and sulfates. If this is how you have answered this part, you can give yourself 1 mark. Detergents are mainly classified as
Cationic, anionic,
and non-ionic detergents. What are
anionic,
detergents?
anionic,
Detergents are sodium salts of sulfonated long-chain alcohols or hydrocarbons. An example of
anionic,
detergents is sodium dodecyl benzene sulfonate.
cationic,
Detergents are quaternary ammonium salt of amines with acetates chloride or bromide. For example, cetyl trimethyl ammonium bromide. And non-ionic detergents do not contain any ion in their constitution, formed by a reaction between polyethylene, glycol and stearic acid. Writing correct definition of
cationic, anionic,
and non-ionic detergents will give you half a mark each. The last part of the question is why detergents are preferred over soap. The answer is not as difficult as it sounds. Detergents are preferred over soaps because they work even in hard water and acidic pH, where soap becomes insoluble. This would give you the remaining half a mark. So if you could answer your question the way we have, all 3 marks could be yours. Remember to place the positive and negative charge at the correct position in case of
cationic,
and
anionic.
detergents.
Do you think our mothers ever thought of these things before washing clothes? Well, for now, I have one more practice question. Though it's the last one for today, don't consider it the least. It's about healing your diseases, and if you get it right, it may help you sprint ahead.
Let's discuss another question for 3 marks. Give one important use each of bithionol, chloramphenicol, and streptomycin. This question is very scoring and less time-taking. To answer this question, you should have a very good knowledge of different types of medicine and their therapeutic uses. The answer is bithionol is added to soaps to impart antiseptic properties. Chloramphenicol is a broad-spectrum antibiotic used to cure typhoid, dysentery, pneumonia, etc. Streptomycin is used for the treatment of tuberculosis.
Practicing is the best way of revising. I hope answering those questions has not just made you clearer as far as concepts are concerned, but also more confident about facing your exams. Now, if you need to practice more questions, just log on to our website www.topperlearning.com. It's time now to take a HOTS question. As you might already know, HOTS means Higher Order Thinking Skills and has been introduced by the CBSE only in 2008.
A HOTS question requires you to name a substance which can be used as an antiseptic as well as a disinfectant. It is obvious that this question requires you to have a logical understanding of these closely related terms, that is, antiseptic and disinfectant. HOTS questions are application-based and not mere theory questions which you can practice. They are meant to inculcate holistic learning among students and discourage bookish learnings. Antiseptics and disinfectants come under the category antimicrobials. So it is advisable for students to do a comparative study of the different topics of drugs to answer these questions. Since you are asked to name a substance which can be used as an antiseptic as well as a disinfectant, the answer is phenol. Phenol can be used as an antiseptic as well as a disinfectant. 0.2% solution of phenol is antiseptic, while its 1% solution is disinfectant. So there you are, a perfect example of HOTS question perfectly answered.
If you're naturally inquisitive, HOTS segment will be a cakewalk for you. But in case you're not, then you just have to inculcate those skills. Remember, rote learning may help you succeed in exams to a certain extent, but for that edge, you'll have to do more than that. So instead of learning the concepts, try and understand them. Now here are a few tips which will help you become a topper in both the literal and the figurative terms.
Proper understanding of the fundamental basis of classification of polymers is a must. And so is learning the mechanism of polymerization with suitable examples. Most of the questions are based on it. To identify whether a given monomer will undergo addition or condensation polymerization, keep in mind that if a monomer contains multiple bonds, it will undergo addition polymerization. Do make a comparison table to distinguish between the various polymers, antibiotics, soaps and detergents, etc. You could also be asked to distinguish between addition and condensation polymerization, thermosetting and thermoplastic polymers, and between soaps and detergents, etc. Also remember that a same substance can act as an antiseptic as well as a disinfectant if used in different concentrations.
With all that knowledge, you'll surely succeed. But do keep your cool by preparing for those exams, and when you go into the examination hall, tell yourself, I can do it. So all the best for the most important exams of your life. Take care and goodbye.